Looking at what's at stake for your country, and I say your country, but what I mean is the world, and particularly for us in Australia, because we rely heavily on the US. And whilst we may not be as big and powerful as you guys are, or have the defence force capabilities that you have, I think in terms of where we're located, that there's a lot that we have to offer. What will Donald Trump do in the White House that will ensure that China will not invade Taiwan, that World War III doesn't break out in the Middle East, that Russia doesn't continue into Ukraine? What will he do?
American weakness has created the biggest void in the world, and that's because you have a weak administration. There were no games under my father, right? You had peace in the Middle East, you had no Russia-Ukrainian conflicts. I mean, the world was at peace. My father was trying to get America out of every war. He didn't want wars. He wanted to have the strongest military on the face of this earth in case we ever had to use it, but he didn't want wars, right? He wants the greatest economy. He wants the greatest education. He wants safe borders. Very practical. He wants common sense. We don't have common sense as a world right now, and honestly, the vacuum that's become this administration, the Biden-Harris administration, has just created turmoil all over the place. China does want to invade Taiwan. There's no question about it.
Well, Xi has said it multiple times.
They also want to become the superpower of the world. They want to become, the worldwide currency, the most powerful. They want to become the worldwide language. They want to control every major industry that's important, whether it be, telecommunications. They want to win the war without ever firing a shot. That is absolutely in their intent. And you have an administration here in the U.S. that cares more about, whether or not 6'5" men, men my height should be able to swim in women's sports. That's what preoccupies their time. Their eyes are not focused on the prize. They're not focused on the fact that you have adversaries around the world that want to take the number one spot, and we can't let them. My father's very different, right? He's the ultimate competitor. He wants to win at absolutely everything we do. He wants America to be number one at everything we do, and in turn, it's a great thing for the rest of the world, right? It creates prosperity, it creates economic prosperity, but beyond anything, it creates, peace. And America's had that role for a very long time. Biden's not, Kamala, they're not solving these problems. They're not speaking to Putin. They're not trying to resolve conflicts. In fact, they're doing everything they can to work around these people because they realize nothing will get done.
But Eric, Kamala was sent to Europe to stop Russia invading.
Yeah, 2 days
How'd
before.
That go?
And then Putin laughed at her. But she was also supposed to be the border czar, and we've had 13 million people come across our southern border. We've had 300,000 kids that have died of fentanyl poisoning in this country, and no one's doing a damn thing about it. Aaron, our family is the last people they need to be doing this, right? I run beautiful clubs like this all over the world. We've got the best hotels on planet Earth. We've got the best golf properties on planet Earth. We've got some of the best commercial buildings. I mean, trust me, the last thing our family needs to be doing is getting shot at every single day, having systems get weaponized against you, being attacked ruthlessly, having the press go after you. My father was impeached twice. He won both times. There's dirty dossiers that were made up that were totally phony. Everybody knows that story. Russia collusion. I mean, we don't know anybody in Russia. How could you possibly? We've been attacked every single day. They've tried to bankrupt our family. They've tried to separate our family. And we're still fighting. We don't need to be doing this. Donald Trump is the only politician probably in American history who lost zeros off the back of his name as opposed to gained many zeros, right? Unlike the predecessor, unlike the Clintons and the Obamas and so many others who became wealthy through this job. My father does it because he cares about America. He cares about red, white, and blue. And he's absolutely sick and tired of the incompetence in the country, incompetent leadership that's causing so many problems around the world. And that's why we as a family fight every single day. Not that we need to. Not that sometimes it's even fun too. No. But because we truly care. We truly care. We love this nation. And we can bring prosperity to it. My father put together the biggest tax cuts in the history of this nation. I mean, the best job markets, the lowest interest rates, the lowest inflation we've ever seen. We had the lowest gas prices in the history of this country, lowest utility bills. Manufacturing was coming back to America. We had secure borders. Drug prices, illegal drug prices were by far the highest they had ever been. So the drug use was the lowest it had ever been. And literally in a matter of 3-year period, all of those factors reversed. I mean, every quantifiable factor went backward. And we can take it back, and we can do so very quickly. And I'm confident we're going to do that on November 5th.
Did you try and convince him not to go again, either of you? Did you think this is just too hard basket, as you said, we don't need this as a family?
No. And by the way, even if we tried to,
yeah,
I can tell you,
Aaron,
it wouldn't have worked. I mean, he's hell bent on the mission, and the one thing I'll say is, that stubbornness is beautiful. His entire career was kind of built off of the back of being stubborn and having backbone, and being, non-politically correct. Once he sets his eyes on something, he goes for it, and he's relentless in that pursuit. And I think that's a beautiful thing. He was relentless in the pursuit when he was in business. He was relentless in his pursuit when he did The Apprentice for 14 seasons, which I was on for many years. He focused on something and he just went after it. And he's been relentless in his pursuit of saving this nation and saving our country, and really, making sure that the Western world remains free and strong and prosperous. And there's no talking him out of it, believe me. It would have been very easy to fold the cards. It would have been very easy to say, you know what, I'm sitting in another sham courtroom right now. You know what, how about this? It would be the easiest deal for me to ever make, to go to them and say, how about you guys just brush this aside and, we'll sit back. You guys just run your candidate. They would have loved that. They would have made that deal all day long, and he would have never done it. He is hell-bent on winning. He is working harder than anyone. I mean, he works tirelessly. And again, we're going to win this election.
I always say that Donald Trump was made for such a time as this.
Yeah.
And I've said that for a long time. But I actually think after July 13th, he gets it now too, in that way. When Eric talks about him being relentless and being stubborn, he means that in the best possible way. That's what made him such a successful businessman. That's what made him the household name, not just here in America, but around the world. That ability never to quit, never to give up. And I think after July 13th, what he realized is that there is a bit of a divine nature to this. I don't think you would have a conversation with Donald Trump right now and have him not tell you that it was God who saved his life, that he is only here today by the grace of God. And because of that, I think his drive in this election is as strong, but maybe has changed a little bit in the way that he is looking at it. I do think that he understands that he is just about the only person on this planet who could do what needs to be done to save this country, to save the world right now. And I think he really feels like he has God on his side. And when you talk about the importance of Donald Trump worldwide and why having him in the White House here in America is so impactful around the world, the things for which this man is often criticized, his tone, his tenor, his bravado, the way he presents himself sometimes, his tweets, all of those things, I actually feel like are the very reasons that he was such an effective leader when it came to people like Xi Jinping, when it came to the Ayatollah in Iran, when it came to Vladimir Putin, when it came to crossing the DMZ to shake hands with Kim Jong-un of North Korea. It's because of who Donald Trump is and the things that all the people like to attack him for, that America really was strong, respected, and the entire world was stabilized.
Absolutely.